Yang Gang is victorious? Depends how you look at it, but I would say the influence of Andrew Yang's campaign and the broader movement that has sprung up around the man, and the enthusiasm and the substantive, pragmatic spirit of those who have gotten behind these proposals is proving to be victorious. Maybe it's not the ideal set of circumstances that this next, what appears to be a 2-month trial period of universal basic income, which looks like it's going to be passed in the next day or so, in all likelihood, is actually coming to fruition. Now, the fact that it's happening because there's a global pandemic and we're at the risk of a depression, less than ideal circumstances, but it is still a huge, huge victory, especially because it's been forwarded in a very bipartisan way. The first couple of people that I saw come on about it were two people who are very much non-ideologues, unsurprisingly, but are sort of hated to a certain degree within their own party for completely different reasons. And that, of course, is, first I heard Tulsi Gabbard talking about it, and this is all outside of the fact that clearly Andrew Yang has been pushing this for some time now, but within the context of coronavirus and trying to avoid a depression, I heard Tulsi Gabbard say something about it. And within, later that day, the next day, Mitt Romney came out and said something about it. And I was like, wow, if you're getting people on both sides of the aisle to do it. And then now we've had, everybody from AOC to Ilhan Omar to Kamala Harris in her just embarrassingly Kamala Harris way, proving once again why she should be nowhere near the White House, coming out and having a proposal of her own. The point is that across the ideological spectrum, that Yang Gang's message appears to have gotten through. And I think that is a testament not just to the idea of UBI itself, which I think for many people, when you first hear it, it sounds almost ridiculous. That was mine, universal basic income. What the hell is that? But it's a testament not only to the idea itself, once you actually sit down and parse it out amongst people, but it's a testament to the way Andrew managed to conduct himself in the campaign, and the way that Yang Gang more broadly was able to conduct itself within the context of the campaign. I think it became obvious to all but the most ardent of hacky ideologues, of which there are plenty, that ultimately Andrew Yang and the sets of proposals that he put forward were very much living in the real world, living in the tragic vision of the world, and that it is not this pseudo-religious idea of anointing these great leaders who are going to somehow make manna rain from heaven and give everybody everything, but rather they were these very pragmatic, well thought out solutions to very serious problems that were coming, and presented in such a way where it was very clear to anybody who was watching that Andrew's first priority in this all was not to anoint himself, was not to win the presidency, but it was to forward an agenda. And luckily that agenda, at least in this trial basis, is going to have a chance to, be given its due. Let's see how this goes. Now, what's so, I think that one of the things that should be parsed apart in all of this, as I was just referencing, is that I don't think that if somebody else, let's say it was Elizabeth Warren or something like that. I think if somebody who had some really good ideas or was really great on some things like Elizabeth Warren is, but if they were to have so many just other toxic things going, just all this like ultra woke, signaling to the elite class how great you are, and all this just lying and pandering and all this whatever. I don't think that UBI would be on the table in the same way that it is right now, because there's a huge emotional component to things like this. Andrew Yang was able to, there are a lot of proposals that I think, if they were viewed dispassionately, if the messenger were taken out of the equation, they would have a very different reaction, or people would react to it in a very different way than if you had a emotional feeling that turns you off or on to the person who's delivering the message. Now, Andrew was able to do something pretty spectacular, and something that is unprecedented as far as I can tell, and is, I believe, part of why why this is actually happening, why it's been able to bear fruit. And that is that unless you're a hardcore ideologue, I have not heard anybody say, "Oh, that Andrew Yang guy, he really sucks. He's just a cynical jerk and whatever." And you will find those people, certainly, but for the most part, you had people, serious pundits on Fox News, the Tucker Carlsons of the world and whatnot, as well as people like Bernie Sanders and AOC, and everybody in between all come out, and when Andrew, stepped away, said, that Andrew Yang guy, he seems like a stand-up guy. He forwarded some very interesting proposals. And I think for the most part, people were not left with a bad taste in their mouth, or look at this cynical, power-grabbing guy. What they were left with was, wow, look at this dude, he's coming out, and clearly his motive is that he's trying to fix these problems, and he's genuine, and he's not getting caught up in the day-to-day bullshit. He's being the bigger guy. And, I think that if somebody else had put this proposal forward, I think that right now it would be pretty unlikely that you would have Donald Trump and like Steve Mnuchin and people like Mitt Romney and stuff, and all these Republicans and folks on the right feeling so comfortable with this proposal, and not even tweaking it a little bit. Like, it seems like literally they're even doing $1,000 a month. It seems like nobody, whether they say it or not, nobody finds Yang so toxic that they're not willing to directly or indirectly sort of tip their hat to the man. And I think that says a lot about what his campaign was able to do, and the way that Yang Gang more broadly was able to conduct itself throughout the campaign. So, look at this. This says a lot to me. We had, Ilhan Omar, who, at least she's saying, the right thing. But she tweeted this out today. "I'm introducing a bill to give $1,000 to every American adult, $500 for every child, no exceptions. We need to support the American people now, and this is just a start." Okay, good for her, right? But it's so strange that she tweeted that, a couple hours ago now, and it was like you realize that the president, who you hate so much, and a bunch of other people have been saying this for a while. And of course, Kamala Harris, in true Kamala Harris fashion, she came out and said that she wanted to have, the LIFT Act, which would be, I think, $500 for every adult. And so it was just some paltry, BS thing. Apparently she said, "Oh, I proposed that a while ago," or something, but just I mean, what horrible political instincts. And it's one of the reasons why she has no business being anywhere near the White House, frankly. But I think the fact that the proposal is almost exactly what Andrew had been speaking of, $1,000 in all, and there's no strings attached. It feels like, for the most part, it is not conditional. It's not creating some new bureaucracy that kind of picks winners and losers. It's just literally kind of the UBI proposal rolled out for a couple of months. And I think that what it says to me is that it is possible that if you are coming from the right place and are really just trying to get things done and conduct yourself in the right way, that you can be a person who is able to forward pragmatic ideas in a way that people, even radical ideas, things that seem totally like, I guess against some people's ideology, but if they make sense and they're, if they think that you're like a decent person, and are fundamentally coming from a good place, and you don't, get caught up in all this nonsense, that really you can get through to people on both sides of the aisle. And I think when you see people coming around a certain idea, like they are right now, or finding some sort of political figure in the United States to be not toxic and generally liked amongst folks in both parties, that's incredibly powerful. And to me, it also shows that how much of the divides that people engage in on a daily basis over stuff like that is sort of noise. It's sort of minutia, that we're not nearly as divided as we think that we are. And in many ways, the more that we lean into these divisions and inflame them, the more we enhance the perceived size of this gap, this phantom divide between the left and the right in the United States, which I think for the most part isn't really there. It's I think we're largely against abstractions in our own minds of what they are like and what we are like. It's just sort of cynical political actors exploiting divisions, and it, ironically enough, of course, it's the people who talk about the dangers of exploiting divisions the most who do it the most. But it really goes to show that there is a space for unity amongst the American people. There is a space for real substantive change. And, I guess sometimes we'll see how it goes. But I'm curious to see how this winds up working out. I assume that this will pass. This is an interesting, unprecedented, fascinating, terrifying time. And let's hope we make the best of it. All right, guys. Later. Yang yang.